What's up, Cowboys Nation? Just gonna touch base with some of the free agency moves we made so far this offseason. Big one, definitely bringing back Dak Prescott. I would assume that's the biggest news of the off season. Basically, when you look at the injury and the way the Cowboys performed last year, some of us still blame Prescott for the mishaps of last year, and I can't agree with them, only because from jump he started playing without Tyron Smith. I think Tyron Smith actually played a few games, and then he was later diagnosed with injury that kept him out the rest of the season. And then when you look at Lael Collins, someone that never suited up, not one down, not one drive all last year, and that put Prescott in a situation where he wasn't comfortable, in the pocket with some of the best ends in the league. Like, that's what people don't understand. Like in the entire NFL, and that's something that you have to deal with twice a year without your best guys. That puts you in a situation where you have to hold on the ball a little longer. You have to try to make the best out of each situation, as far as you're actually the MVP. You have to carry this team, and Dak has done a great job balling with backups. He's been playing with backups like since the first game of the season against the Rams. He was going into that game shorthanded, and he still put up one of the best stats during that time. At that time of the season, I believe he got injured week 4, week 5. And at that time, man, he was balling. So just getting him locked up for the foreseeable future was something I definitely commend to the Joneses family, Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, because at that time of the injury, man, I was one of the fans that didn't so much believe that the organization would get that deal done and bring back one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So then we started bringing back more of our own, Jordan Lewis, which I think was great news, only because of the actual free agent cornerbacks on our team. I believe he was the best one, regardless of the height, the weight, whatever they prefer, as far as a certain physique in order for them to be interested. That shows that pretty much isn't true, because for the longest, man, since he entered the league, there's been rumors about his size, and certain coordinators didn't play him as much because of the size. And then even when he got some snaps, that still caused concern for his development, because it wasn't conditional, or it wasn't consecutive or repetitive snaps. It was basically one game he'll just play more based off of the individual on the other team, maybe like a Kamara or players of that effect, where they can cause mismatches. And that was the only time we seen Jordan Lewis. After times he made plays on the ball, just being aware of the ball placement, you see him make pass deflections, great interceptions. Now, a lot of those great moments come with bad angles on tackles, terrible penalties, and then the timing of those penalties. Some of those penalties cost us the game. So I'm not the guy that's going to just remember all the good. I'm going to remember the bad too, but the good needs to be remembered as well, because a lot of people, once you do one bad thing, that's all we remember in Cowboys Nation. Like if you go around and ask Cowboy fans what's one moment they remember from Tony Romo, I guarantee you it'll be a negative or a bad moment at that one time in his career over great moments that he had. And that's just the nature of the business, man, especially if you're not a winning quarterback and you're not constantly in deep contention in the playoffs. Man, they don't care. It's what have you done for me lately? And some of the times, even when you are a player of that nature, they still remember the bad things. But back to the offseason. I think a lot of us wanted to see the impact that we will receive from the new defensive coordinator. Basically, being as though we have our own narrative when it comes to new coaches. We basically just assume that they'll just basically fall in line and do as they told. Where in other teams, coordinators are held more accountable, and they basically and that comes with more responsibility. They're able to basically control what they want to control, or add, take out. They don't really have a owner breathing over them, and that's something that we wanted to see going forward. Do we have the right coordinators that basically knows football, and then they're not afraid to make football choices without, checking to see if it's okay? And with Keanu O'Neal being signed, that showed us that the defensive coordinator actually has a say in what's going on. And that's a great feeling when the owners are giving keys to these coordinators, because they're the football guys. Regardless of how many times you own the team, you're not going to be more intuitive with the ins and outs of coaching when it's a guy that's been coaching for 30, 40 years. Now, granted, things change with the times, different schemes of that nature, but just the management and the responsibility of a head coach and a coordinator is something that you can't compare, or you can't just assume that you can take over those responsibilities just because you're an owner. And that's something that we just struggle to have that type of trust with our front office. But I believe they did great with the offseason adjustments. It's based off of looking at a need and addressing it, because we will have to see how all these players turn out. If the coaching works for them, if the player is able to receive the message and then produce on the field, if they're even able to be successful in this scheme. Now, if you look at some of the highlight tape, a lot of us are basically it's like the ins and outs. A lot of us aren't really happy because these players aren't known, and then when you look at some of the highlight tape, some of the tape on these players aren't jumping off the screen. They're not gravitating towards like splash players, which is fine. Now, my only gripe towards this is based on how we go in the draft, and how much of our players turn out to be cornerstone players, superstar players, or even just players that are going to be on the 46-man roster week in and week out. Because everyone thinks this, because you get drafted in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, that you have a guaranteed spot. A lot of these guys don't make the team. And if you look at it 2, 3, 4 years later, a lot of them aren't even on the roster. So I said all that to say this: depending on how we draft come April, that can determine how good or bad our free agency period was. But based off of what they bring to the table, or what we believe they can bring to the table, and then what we lost in free agency, I can't be mad. There's no splash players, but these are people that basically can replace what we lost as far as production. As long as that happens, I'm fine. I don't care how many people know these names or how many people bought these jerseys and things of that nature, because you can always find somebody that can produce the same way with less cap, a lower price tag. And that's something you have to explore, and that's something you have to basically reach or set as goal every single offseason. And that's the job of the front office. And as long as the depth is being addressed, we don't have to find star players in free agency. Because if you really look at it, we don't need the best of the best in every position. And that's what people think. They just think, oh, in order to win a Super Bowl, we have to have if you're a Madden fan, you have to have an 85 or 88 overall in every position just to win, and that's just to win one Super Bowl. Like, that's not the case. So as long as we're addressing and improving, like Dak Prescott, if you give him the keys, he can win a Super Bowl. If you build a team around him, he can win it. So we have to divide up the full responsibility of the team. We can't always assume that the defense is going to carry us. That's my opinion. Because when you're drafting, you're building this team, you're stacking the strength is being placed on one side, which is offense. If you look at a lot of the top 3 rounds, the first 3 rounds, a lot of those picks fall on the offensive side. And then if you look at defense, you'll see players that was drafted 6th round, 5th round. They're actually some of them are starting and actually getting in and getting playing time. But if you look at it on the offensive end, a lot of those players that are drafted in those rounds don't even get in the game unless they're injury forces them to play, things of that nature. But you can't do that. You can't basically force defensive players that are lower round picks. You're forcing them onto the field, but then the players that are actually ready to produce and play early on their career, they're only on offense. Besides a few players like LVE, things of that nature, where the injuries are keeping them off the field. But as I stated, I'm fine with these pickups as long as they're able to basically produce what we lost. Then you can't complain. And like I said, a lot of that just comes to waiting and seeing, because we can't just assume that they're going to play at the same level, at a worse level, or a better level. Everyone is different. Everyone responds in different situations, different atmospheres, brings out different attitudes. So we just have to wait and see on that. But I'm happy. I'm fine with it. I can't wait to draft time, so then we can start digging in on what we're going to actually look like and the schemes, and we can start placing these players in certain positions, and we can start to come out with a better picture of what our defense may look like this coming season. I also believe that a lot of these players that were brought in either allowed us to move on from players that we believe we can improve on, or they just stopped us from basically looking into higher free agency picks. Because we didn't, first couple of days, maybe we didn't even look into drafting or signing anybody, because they figured, if we can get that same production, why give out the most money possible for someone that isn't going to basically make a big splash to where his production can't be matched. That's just my opinion, man. So go ahead and let us know what you believe is the best signing so far in free agency besides the players that we already had, because I'm pretty sure everyone's going to believe Prescott is the best move. So actually, if you want to do both, you can put in what you believe is the best re-signing and then the best signing so far in this offseason. And then what player do you think, if drafted, will make all these moves make sense? Because we can, like I said, depending on the draft, certain players that we can pick can ruin or bless this draft, this free agency class. So we have to wait and see, man. And we're counting down, man. Draft next April. Before you know it, it'll be here, man. Before you know it, it'll be August, preseason time, and we're gonna go ahead and get this thing smoking. Thank y'all for watching, man. Y'all have a good one. Peace.